Welcome everyone back to Master Surveillant Mindset with Darin Fredrickson, Kevin Hunter, and Kyle Torgerson here at the broadcast desk. And Darin, before we get into our subject, we're going to talk about the Caveman Burglar, the ring shot of the burglar as well, a recent situation of somebody attempting to break into a person's home, and then talk about some of the things that you can do to defend yourself against that situation. But if you would, for the benefit of our audience, give everybody just a little bit of snapshot of your background in law enforcement and what you're doing currently in terms of, as a master surveillant in various locations around the United States.
Yeah, so obviously I was a police officer for 20 years. I was a detective for 16 of those years. The last 8 of those years, I was on a career criminal squad where basically we conducted surveillance on career criminals. We called it the repeat offender program. And these were the 10 percenters, that 10 or 20 percenters out in society that we believe are contributing to 80 or 90% of the crime. They're just repeat offenders. So we'd target these individuals that were usually burglars, either commercial or residential burglars, then like the purse snatchers, the car thieves, the safe burglars that break into businesses and steal safes and all that. So we spent 8 years doing surveillance on the worst of the worst. And through that experience, I just realized like how vulnerable people are, but not only that, how they can protect themselves and become a tough target or a hardened target. So over the years, I've written some books, co-authored with Raymond Siljander, one of them being Terrorist Attacks, which actually was released right before the 9/11.
Move that right into the center of the camera there, because we saw part of that book there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Terrorist Attacks. All right.
So in this book, we actually have a whole chapter on physical security for either residents or for commercial, just because a terrorist attack is nothing more than a criminal attack or a criminal event that's politically motivated or ideologically motivated. And so I spent a lot of time studying this, researching this, and then actually watching these people over the years, how these burglars target homes or businesses. You really see, you like actually get to kind of step inside their mind and look at the world differently as how they look at it to pick a target. And there's so nothing's changed since thousands and thousands of years ago. You think about, if you want to go back to when people were living in caves and they'd put fires out in front of the caves to protect themselves. They'd put rocks, they'd put sentries, or guards. Like nothing has changed with protecting property and safety and lives. Just technology has evolved so far where now, like if there are certain things you don't have at your residence, I would say that you need to change your mindset and go get these very, very inexpensive, cheap things to protect yourself and your family. And that's what I want to talk about today, is just like how easy you can become a hardened target and very inexpensively, and have that burglar just walk right on by your residence. And if they do target your residence, there's layers of defense. It's like an onion. You peel that onion away, you have 3 layers of defense, that each of those layers should have a system in there to either detect or deter a criminal from targeting either your business or your home. So
we're going to talk about those layers of defense here in just a moment and go over some of the simple steps that you can take to deploy those steps. But before we do that, let's share a video with our viewers. This is actually one of the things a person can do to defend their personal property. Go ahead and bring the video in the background. Darin, if you would, set this up. Pause the video there here for a second, Kyle. Darin, if you would, set this up and share with our viewers what they're going to see here. He's muted.
Oop. Am I fine?
There you go.
Back? Okay.
Yes.
Just to set this up, like my own family, I try to protect them the best I can. My mother has 3 cameras inside her residence. And I said, you know what, you really need to get 2 cameras on the outside, even though you have 1 in the garage. And so we literally last week ordered cameras for the outside of her residence that are Wi-Fi based, just like this one here. Well, yesterday she sent me an email and said, hey, look, the neighborhood just in my area was targeted by a burglar that's out there trying to burglarize houses. And she sent me this video clip because it was shared, with the media, with all the neighbors, like, look at this guy. Can you identify him? We need to figure out who he is. but he's actually using a tool to get in through your key. He's not busting a window. Like a lot of burglars will break that window right next to the door. They'll bust the window, reach in, and unlock the door. So simple solution, deadbolt, key in, key out. You lock the deadbolt from the inside or the outside. They break it, they can't get in because it's a key in, key out deadbolt. But that's what most burglars would do in this situation, which we'll talk about a burglary later on, where most burglars will approach your front door, knock on the door to see if anybody's home. If there's no response, then that's when they decide how they're going to get in. So this burglar here is coming up to the door, and he's just, I don't even know if he knocks or anything. I don't think he does. I think he just goes right into trying to open up this deadbolt. This is a deadbolt situation here. And you can see right there, you can see it's some type of tool that he's, and it looks like a lockpick, or it's one of those, they have lockpick keys that basically, it's like a lockpick gun that just basically manipulates the pins in a key to then get it to where you can just open it without a key. It basically mimics a key. Or it's a bump key, which basically, I don't think it's a bump key in this situation, but those are bump key is designed again to bump all bump the cylinder, all the pins so that you can open the door. Okay. A little technical, but that's what they're doing.
All right, so go ahead and roll the video, Kyle.
And this video you see here is through a camera, a doorbell camera called a Ring. Wi-Fi based.
Hello?
That's the homeowner talking through the camera.
Please.
What's that?
Please take that off the door.
He realizes right now game's over. So he's trying to save face and try to walk out of there like, oh, I'm confused. But
so the conversation coming from the homeowner in this case is actually not home, but he gets an alert on his phone or device that somebody's at his door, and so that's why he's able to engage the guy immediately when he tries to pick the lock.
Yes, so this family had gone hiking. They were gone 15 minutes, and all of a sudden on the phone, you get an alert. I have my cameras at my house, send me alerts whenever there's motion, and it sends you a little video clip, and there's like motion has been detected. You look, and he's like, oh, there's somebody at my front door. So you literally live watch your front door, and he's watching him live on his phone, you know, just like a regular phone. And then you can communicate through, and you can say, excuse me, who are you? The police are being called. They're on their way. So alarm systems are really common, and I have no opposition to an alarm system. My last house had one. This one I have equipped with cameras, and alarm systems are still great. I recommend that. But this is a simple $99 to a $200 solution that you put on your front door. Because like I said, most burglars, they're not going to just come creeping in through your backyard, breaking through a back window or a door. They're going to come to the front door legitimately, like with some kind of a ruse. Not legitimately. They're coming to your front door, though, with a ruse. Like, oh, and they'll come up with some excuse for why they're in their neighborhood. If somebody answers the door. If nobody answers the door, then it's like, okay, let's go to the next stage. Nobody's home. How do I want to get into this residence? So this,
the device that Darin is referring to, because this is one of the higher end devices. So this is like the $200 end of the device that you're talking about, which probably has night vision and a few other things built into it.
Yep, probably higher resolution. Night vision is real common because if the lighting drops to where there's no lighting to illuminate the target, like with a camera, cameras are great to either deter, like in this situation, like somebody sees a camera, it deters them, or somebody initiates a conversation with somebody through a camera. But like this camera here is mounted outside the house, and so like people would say, well, the burglar can grab your camera and run or tear it off the wall. Well, the problem, they can do that because it's visible, it's there, you can rip it off the wall, but everything's being recorded to the cloud. So whatever's being recorded to the cloud is already there, and so they might take the physical device, but either way, you still have video. But you need to identify the person. Like this video on this camera, you can clearly identify who that person is. And so if that's a known burglar in that area, the police are going to have video evidence. Now here, he didn't get in. it was an attempt burglary. But if he's got burglaries already that are documented, this will qualify as a felony attempt burglary because he's using a tool and he's already shown that he has committed burglaries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very inexpensive. Like I don't know why people don't get this. At some point we could put links in there where they could get this, but like Costco has, I think they have ring cams right now. There's the Nest door cam out there. Very, very inexpensive solution to just at least be notified.
Mm-hmm.
Not only just with burglars, but like if you have children that come home from school and latchkey kids, it'll let you know when your children are coming home from school. And like on a previous show where we talked about packages being delivered from Amazon or wherever you're ordering packages, you can also see when your package is delivered and or if it gets stolen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a simple, cheap solution that doesn't require wiring and anything. They do require a subscription to actually store data in the cloud, obviously, because it's got to go somewhere.
Sure. All right, well, let's move on to talking about the 3 layers of defense. You got a bunch of great points here that I want to make sure we share with our audience. So let's start at the top.
Okay, so I'm going to just deal with residents right now, not commercial burglaries. Mm-hmm. So first of all, you should do your own security survey, they call it. Basically, look at the threat assessment of your own property. And how do you do that? People would be like, oh, I don't even know where to start. Well, just think of like you're a burglar. Like try to put yourself in the mindset of somebody that wants to get into your house. Where is the most likely place they're going to come? So there's 3 layers of defense. You have basically the property line, right? So you have your fence is a perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can use lighting, signage out there, like, hey, I have an alarm system, I have a camera system. You can put cameras out there. Then the next layer of security, let's say somebody gets through the fence or from off the street.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have the perimeter of the building, right? That's like an envelope there that you got to secure. How are they going to get into your residence? Are there bushes all over the front door where they can sit there and spend all day trying to get into your house, breaking a window, kicking in the front door?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another layer of security. And again, you can use lighting, cameras, alarm systems, and don't overlook the fact that some people will actually go through walls or through a garage, because the garages are typically not very protected because people think garage. So garages are really easy to access through, whether through the garage door itself, the roll-up door, or through a side door. So they'll go through there right into the house if it's connected. So use cameras there. And then once they get through that second layer and they're in your house, now how are you protected? What I recommend is any valuables, put in a safe. Money, jewelry, different things like that. And if you're not going to put them in a safe, hide them. At least have them hidden somewhere. Like your valuables, don't just leave your iPad and iPods and laptops and all your expensive stuff out. Burglars know exactly. Just like when I worked drug enforcement, I did knock and talk on drug houses for years, and I dealt with drug dealers and drug users. And drug users and dealers typically have all their drugs in the top right drawer of a dresser. So I knew when I would start searching their bedroom under consent, do you have any drugs in here? Oh no. Do you mind if I look? No, go ahead. I'd first target the top right drawer of a dresser. So every one of you that are watching this, think, where are my valuables? Most likely they're in the top left or right drawer of a dresser, closet, somewhere like that. So burglars know that. When they break into a house, they know they have only so much time. So they're going to target the areas where they know they have the greatest likelihood of finding valuables. So some simple steps. Lighting. For example, lighting at night. So a lot of residential burglars commit burglaries during the day because they don't want to confront somebody. They're just there to get valuables. Usually they're drug addicts. But lighting can deter up to 75% having adequate lighting of a nighttime burglary. And a lot of the nighttime burglaries will target garages and things like that, unless they are a true cat burglar. That's where the term cat burglar comes from, is they'll actually go into a residence when there's a person there. Those are really unique, and those are actually a different level criminal. They're almost more predators. But then, like we talked about the camera, that is so simple to get and implement, and it's very affordable. The one thing I want to tell you about, like with door kicks, when when burglars kick in your front door, you can have the most expensive lock system, Schlag is like top notch. That's what I have on my house because quick set, which 90% of people have, quick set locks are very, very easy to defeat with a lock pick.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually sell a tool that you can pull the whole inside cylinder. If you go look at your quick set front door, it's actually a circle and the whole inner guts will come out of that thing and you can just
Mm-hmm.
put a screwdriver in there. And they sell those tools. And we've arrested burglars with lock picks. So I'd recommend going to Schlag. But what you want to do is when a door is kicked in, and it's a common means of getting in, it's actually compromising the door frame. And so when you get those little tiny screws with your door where it goes in the door jamb,
Right.
get rid of those little tiny screws and go out and buy a 3-inch stainless steel screw and screw that all the way in where it actually goes into the 2x4 to
Mm-hmm.
reinforce that door frame. And right then and there, for $2 for 2
Mm-hmm.
screws, you've eliminated a door kick-in, which the burglar we're going to show you at the end of the show, that's what he actually pried open a rear door. But door kicks are very, very common. And it doesn't take a lot of strength to kick in a door because you have little tiny screws holding that door,
Mm-hmm.
that, the bolt from the deadbolt.
I can tell you
So,
from having done a lot of construction that the shims that happen even around where the door strikes themselves are at, and the way a lot of doors are installed. Yeah, I'm not a burglar and I don't break into anybody's houses, but if I needed to get into my own house, I know exactly where I'd do that. And you think about people who are in this business of breaking into people's places, they have that same set of knowledge. They know exactly how these doors can be kicked in, and way easier
oh,
than people would think.
no, and that's like a criminal looks at the weakest link of everything. Like you can have a big, huge conic steel box, right? That's like
Yep.
you could take like flame torches to get into it, but then they put a chintzy little lock on that thing that basically you can just snap or pop that little lock off.
Mm-hmm.
Or they go for hinges. Like everything that people think is secure isn't truly secure. Just like this, you can get a really expensive lock system, deadbolts, and all that. But the door frame itself is so weak that it's not. It doesn't matter what you have there. The door frame is going to get compromised before the lock system. So you just got to think like a criminal and walk around and look and see, where am I vulnerable? Is it my
Mm-hmm.
backyard? Is it through the garage? Is it my front door? Is it a window? Just do that, and that's called a security survey. Everybody can do it on their own residence, and then just figure out, if I was a burglar, how would I get in here? What would I do? And then fix it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, let's show people this video on the burglar that you call the Caveman. And this is actually footage that you shot yourself.
Yes. So this burglar here, he was just recently released from prison, and burglary started happening right around his neighborhood, which is a high crime neighborhood. He's got no vehicle. We put him under surveillance at his apartment. And right now here, he's knocking on a front door. This individual was actually targeting residences that had for sale signs out front for whatever reason. So he's knocking, see how passive he wants to look, very, very welcoming to whoever's in this neighborhood or whoever answers his front door.
I'm just a
And
meter reader, or I'm looking
yep,
for my lost dog.
exactly. And who knows what story he's saying, but somebody answered the door. So guess what? Game over. I got to have a ruse of why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaving. I'm moving on to the next house. And I think you actually see the for sale sign out front. But for whatever reason, burglars have their own little method of operation, or modus operandi, or MO, whatever you want to call it. They have their own little strategy on how they do burglaries.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up following him around through the neighborhood. Here, he actually didn't break into this house. He's just looking at going over the fence to break into the house. He came back out. Like this is your textbook burglar right here. A lot of them. Okay, so he did a burglary and stole a Red Bull out of the sink, or out of the fridge. And look at that, he dropped it like right there. That's my pet peeve, is people that litter. But he's literally got a pillowcase full of valuables until surprise here, me and my partner take down this burglar right on, and he's only like a block from his apartment. And this guy, he's good for a lot of burglaries. And like I said, he just got out of prison. This is your definition of a career criminal right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's playing dumb right here. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's a misunderstanding. So now when you're a police
Exactly.
officer, you go to burglary calls all the time. Like, and this
Mm-hmm.
is usually what you show up, somebody calls you, I've been burglarized. If you come home and it looks like somebody's compromised your house, first of all, don't go into your house. Go to a neighbor, go sit in your car, whatever, call the police and say, I think my house is burglarized, because you don't want to go in there and have your suspects still there and you don't know if they're there or not. So if you think you're burglarized, stay in your car. But
Mm-hmm.
police officers will show up, they'll go in, and the houses are ransacked and valuables are stolen. And it's so frustrating because, like, this is a violation of you, of your castle. I mean, this is like your home. And here he pried the back door open with a
Exactly.
tool.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes us feel so good when we're able to take a career criminal like this off the street. That, again, this guy will do 2, 3 burglaries a day. And like, that's your definition of a career criminal, is they commit a felony crime within every 72 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why when we target these people, usually within 72 hours they will commit a felony. And that's why we put them under surveillance, because he didn't leave much for, DNA, fingerprints, all that. And all we have is a busted in house with valuables stolen. And the likelihood of you actually catching a burglar and getting him prosecuted on a burglary is, a lot of times, it's pretty slim, just because the evidence isn't there.
Mm-hmm. So
But
that
so this is
you
really
answered my
rewarding.
question before I had a chance to ask it. I was curious, like how did you come to be tipped off about this guy to follow him? And from what you just explained, he was released from prison. That was your tip that this guy needs to be watched.
Yeah, and I believe he was pawning valuables. And I think I had previously mentioned that we look at the top pawners that are pawning valuable items. And if you look at a top pawner that's pawning things every week,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes every day, and it's just random valuables, and
Mm-hmm.
then you pull up their criminal history and they were released from prison, or they have burglary in their past, like, they're a burglar.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just got to prove it. And so, but they're flying under the radar, because they're you know they're just out there doing burglaries, but yet we know the things they're pawning are commonly stolen items. So we'll look at that top pawner list and look at people like this and say, okay, if you're pawning 3 laptops a week, like, that's not normal, period.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just released from prison. So we'll go locate them, put them under surveillance, and then, like every week we're doing this. Like, we had multiple targets. Like, we had an 8-person team, and we had 4 targets every week that we were watching, and whoever had the most action, we all gathered over as a team, set up surveillance. And so we had like 6 or 8 people on this guy. I think we had our full team on this guy, and he's on foot. So that, like, the first video, I'm sitting in a driveway I'm like 20 feet from him.
Mm-hmm.
Cars shut down. I'm hiding in there and I'm filming. And then we just all leapfrog through the neighborhood and park. So when he's walking around, he has no idea that he's under surveillance by an entire team. We didn't have time to get the aircraft out on this guy because he hit so quick. But a lot of times we'll
Wow.
bring in the aircraft. So yeah, this was made you it makes you feel really good when you take someone like this off the street that is just out there wreaking havoc just to support his drug habit.
Mm-hmm. We're very good. A lot of great tips here. The 3 layers of defense. I would encourage anybody who's tuning into the show here late, go back and watch the content talking about how things that you can do with regard to your property line, the perimeter of your buildings, and then what to do inside as well. Hardening your target is everything to not becoming a victim of residential burglary, or people like we saw here, like the ring burglar and the caveman. How'd you come up with the name caveman for this guy, Darin?
We blurred his face out to protect his identity, even though he's in prison for probably 20 years. But he looks like a caveman. Like he is your poster child of a burglar. If you were ever to say, here's what a burglar looks like. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like mangy with a beard, like black hair and a ponytail. Like, he's scary looking, and fits that poster. Where you look at this first guy, this ring burglar, that's trying to go in with a tool. Like, he looks like he just is coming home from the gym or something. Like, he just got done playing tennis. Like, he does
Mm-hmm.
not fit the profile, which is another good point. Like, don't go by looks. Like, there's some real good burglars out there that are drug addicts that look normal, and they don't look scary like the caveman because he looks scary. Especially his eyes. I wish I could show his eyes. Like, you just look at his eyes and they're just intense. Like, you can just see the criminal mind behind those eyes.
Yeah.
The minds are that window to the soul.
The conscience died a long time ago, and he's just about serving his need.
So,
oh, sure.
Darin, I have a question. Yes. We have also a question from a viewer. But before that, so are you saying that burglaring is so easy that a caveman can do it?
Pretty much. Yeah, I guess in like if you go back to just predators versus prey, I mean, like criminals, like street criminals are like, a lot of times they grow up in an environment where it's either be a predator or be prey. And so the street smarts they have and the way they're able to pick out a target is just unbelievable. I mean, their mindset is just, obviously he came out of prison, so something got him caught before. And that's the thing with these guys. Eventually they'll get caught because they make mistakes. And like the homeowner would come home and there they are in the house. And so they make mistakes, but they can go for a long time. And in Phoenix, we actually had a guy called the Rock Burglar, and he actually targeted multi-million-dollar homes and neighborhoods. And he committed these burglaries for, I think, over a period of 15 or 20 years. Wow. And they actually just finally caught him a few years ago. But he was a true professional and made very, very, very few mistakes. I mean, I don't want to say that very too many times, but got away for a long time, led a really low profile, but he knew what he was doing. And just as a little tip, like he would throw a rock found at the scene through a master bedroom window, because most homes, even with motion sensors, don't have motion sensors in the bedroom, and the windows don't have alarm systems. And so he would go through the master bedroom, not go anywhere else in the house, just target the master bedroom for jewelry only. And then they figure that he was just melting it all down like the gold, because none of his items, I think maybe one or two of his early items of jewelry were recovered, but they weren't able to find out who did it. And so he learned, and he got away with it for 2 decades.
Mm-hmm. We're out of time here. We're running on overtime, but a quick comment on the value of having dogs on the premise in terms of hardening your target.
Yeah, you know what? And that's one thing I was going to add with the property. And actually, I forgot to add it because I was trying to figure out whether I should put it in the property or the property perimeter or the building. It's actually between. Dogs are excellent. I have dogs myself. I have a German Shepherd, and that dog is out there patrolling all the time and barking. So dogs is like right on the top there of deterrence. But I will tell you, I followed a burglar that went in through a doggy door, and the dogs did absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, he put him in a room and locked and like shut the door on him. And so sometimes these burglars are able to handle a dog, but not always. Most dogs are, I would say dog is good.
In my case, a dog probably doesn't do any good, because I do have a dog, but he's a white lab, and he will just lick you to death if you show up at our place. So,
yeah, you got to know your dog.
That's correct. All right, well, that's a wrap here on Master Surveillant Mindset on Northwest Digital News. Darin Fredrickson, Kevin Hunter, and Kyle Torgerson here on the broadcast. Kyle, take it away.
This concludes today's live programming on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us for this special broadcast. Heard around the world in more than 70 countries on YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook, and Twitch TV. If you enjoyed a story or guest we had here on Northwest Digital News and would like to strut your stuff on the broadcast, email us today at wainfo2017@gmail.com or call or text to 360-545-3501. We're always interested in unique stories, topics, and guests to share with our worldwide audience. Before you go, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and comment on the live stream. And for those of you who'd like to financially support the broadcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Northwest Digital News. We thank you for your patronage. On behalf of Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson, Stephanie Hunter, and all the people that made this broadcast possible, I'm Kevin Hunter. Till next time, take care.